beautiful live stream studio here at the Lodge Card Club in Austin, Texas. As I am recording this, today is Tuesday, May the 9th, which means tomorrow, the main event of the Lodge Championship Series kicks off. That is why I am once again back at the Lodge. I'm going to partake in the $3,000 buy-in, $2 million guaranteed main event. I'll be hopping in there tomorrow. How many bullets will we need to fire remains to be seen, but can register tomorrow, can register Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all the way up to day 2 of the main event. Wish me luck. 6-figure score in our near future. Time will tell. I would definitely like to check that off of the bucket list at some point, but that is not the main purpose of this video. Today, we are throwing it back to a session that was played in this very room, in this beautiful live stream studio. We tried to take the stakes down slightly. We tried to make it 25-50 with a 50 big blind ante. You know, as you kick up in stakes, the player pool gets smaller and smaller, but it doesn't seem to matter when you try and lower the stakes here in Texas because people just straddle anyway, multiple straddles, put them on. It ends up being 25, 50, 100 all the time, sometimes 200, sometimes 400. So it's another one of those kinds of games. It was an interesting one. We got Mariano in the mix, we got Brad Owen, we got Wolfgang, who is another poker vlogger some of you guys might be familiar with, as well as some other familiar faces from previous sessions. Let's go ahead and dive into these hands, see how this crazy session of poker went. I'll check in with you guys again afterwards. Strolling on in here into the belly of the beast, the beautiful live stream studio at the Lodge in Austin, Texas. We're making our way to the table just slightly fashionably late here. Poker is already underway. This is hand number 2 as we arrive to the table. Once again, we don't have the best seat in the house because we have this guy, Mariano, on our direct left, Brad Owen, and 2 to my left. Not an easy seat, especially playing for these dollar amounts. As we can see, the starting stack sizes for all these guys, shortest stack has just under $10,000, but we're playing for significant money here. I'm going to be buying in for $20,000. Let's get into the mix, and there is no real time to get settled because right away, right off the bat, we're looking down at a premium holding here, pocket queens. Let's put this $20,000 stack to work here in hand number 4. Playing 25, 50, 100, I raise it up to $250. Mariano, right on cue, 3-betting me immediately. Makes it $800 to go. Action folds around over to Wolfgang, who is playing in the biggest game that he's ever played in. He wants to play for even more money. $800, not enough. Bumps it up, 4-bets it up to $2,100. Action back over to me, and this is pretty tricky here. I don't feel like Wolfgang is going to be screwing around. As mentioned, this is a significantly sized poker game for him, so I'm not sure I just want to pump a 5-bet in there with pocket queens. Not really sure how good the pocket queens are going to perform versus the guy who is probably not getting too out of line. I also have Mariano behind me as well. Honestly, none of the options feel great, so I default to a flat call here. Not in love with it, but don't want to throw him away. At the same time, want to proceed cautiously. Mariano calls behind me, and we're taking a flop 3 ways that does not come down all that favorable. Ace, 8, deuce, rainbow. Don't want to see that ace. I check it. Mariano checks it over to Wolfgang, and Wolfgang continues for a bet of $3,000. Do we want to just give up the queens right away? It's kind of a small bet, which kind of makes sense. This board is pretty dry. Don't hate a fold, but also don't want to give them up just to the one single bet just yet. So I make the call. Mariano snap folds. He's out of there. So we are going heads up to a turn card. That turn card is a 6 of clubs. That doesn't help my pocket queens. Then again, not many cards are going to help my pocket queens. Any card that's not a queen is not a great one. And especially so after I check it over to Wolfgang and he keeps betting. This time for $4,000. Once again, it's not that big of a bet, but as mentioned, it's going to be tough to improve with our pocket queens. So after giving him a little bit of a look across the table, got to give him credit here. Not a good board. Just going to have to let it go. And we can see here on the graphics that he had the goods. Puts in the 4-bet with the ace-king, finds a favorable flop for that hand. Wolfgang's going to take this one down. Not the ideal start to the game, but at least we didn't get into that flipping situation pre-flop and lose the maximum. All right, jumping not that far ahead, this is hand number 6, and we see the young Bradley Owen coming in for a raise off of the +1 position. Makes it $250 to go. Action over to me with the ace 6 of hearts in the big blind. We could call, getting a good price, or we could take the aggressive route. I decided to do that. I'm going to put some more money into this hand, invest a little bit more. I make $1,050 to go here. Really happy if we can just win this one pre-flop. If we do happen to get called, then the suited ace will have some amount of equity and playability to it. Brad didn't come all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada to raise fold versus 3-bets versus a fellow poker blogger. No, he's going to go ahead and put in the 4-bet. Slams even more money in the middle. I don't know how much it is, but I was basically bluffing here with this ace-6 suited. I decided to fold pretty quickly, and as we can see, Brad gets one over on us. He's got the ace-4 suited. That's a great hand to go ahead and put additional raises in with, because once again, when he gets called, he's going to have some playability as well. He gets this one through with a slightly worse ace. We're 0 for 2 so far. Very next hand, hand number 7. We are getting dealt some hands here, and there's just no time to get settled. It's always kind of tough, especially when you're playing higher stakes and you find a couple of losses right off the bat. Not ideal, but what can you do? In this hand, Yuchan comes in for the raise from the hijack, makes it $250 to go. We have king-queen offsuit in the small blind. I don't think playing a raise or fold strategy is all that bad out of the small blind. Being out of position for the entirety of the hand is not great. That being said, there's no rake taken out of this game, just the typical membership fees, so that's not a consideration. And I think if we were suited with this king-queen, I might find a 3-bet more often than the offsuit variety. So I decided to flat call here, and the other players are out of the way. Heads up to a flop. Queen 10 deuce rainbow gives us top pair good kicker. Check it over to the initial raiser. Yuchan pretty quickly checks it back. Feeling pretty good about our hand, of course, when that happens. And the two of us head to a turn card, which is the jack of clubs. Kind of good news, bad news. We upgrade from just top pair to top pair plus open ender. We are losing to a couple additional hands that might find a check back, such as ace king and pocket jacks, and maybe a hand like jack 10. Could bet, could check. I decided to check it over, and my opponent this time fires out a wager. No checkbacks this time at $575 to continue. Of course, we are not going anywhere. Toss out the 575, and we're off to a river card. Total brick, 5 of diamonds. Immediately check it over to Yuchan. When he kind of sheepishly rolls over whatever cards he may have and does not fire out a wager, that means we definitely have the winning hand here. As we can see, Yuchan picked up a flush draw to go along with bottom pair in this hand. Dodge a bunch of outs. Top pair is good. Finally on the board with a win. In this hand, Alex, the serial killer, as I like to call him, comes in for the raise up to $300 in the +2 spot. We look down at 9-8 of diamonds in the cutoff, and while it looks pretty, I do want to be slightly cautious with this particular suited connector, just because it can make some less than great straights versus some other premium hands. So I put in the flat call before Mariano on my direct left does his thing. He puts a bunch of chips out there, totaling $1,300. Action folds back over to Alex. Turns out he doesn't have too much that he can work with. He lets it go. Again, this particular suited connector, I definitely want to be overly cautious with. If I hit like 4-5 or 5-6 or 6-7, I'm definitely going to continue versus the 3-bet. The 3-betting range, I feel like, will have premiums that interact with this 9-8 of diamonds a lot more so than some smaller suited connectors. So I know it looks kind of nitty here, but I think this particular suited connector, it's okay to err on the nitty side with. I decided to let it go, and the graphics reveal that Mariano has himself pocket jacks. Gives the table a glimpse. I guess he's kind of a friendly guy, that Mariano. Would be fun to rabbit hunt. We should have rabbit hunted. I forgot, but we're on to the next hand here. Trey, I'm on direct right. Coming in for the raise in this hand. Hand number 16 comes in for the raise of $300. I'm on the dealer button. I got myself pocket 4s, the sailboats. I'm definitely in there, people. Let's get in there. Let's flop a set. Shark bait. He calls out of the straddle, so 3 ways to king, 9, 5, rainbow. I don't see any additional sailboats. The regatta is canceled, people. Action checks over to me. No set, no bet. I check. Turns another king, king of hearts. Shark bait. He's wagering. Tosses 1 yellow chip out there. Trey gets out of the way, and it's over to us. Some chance we're good here. Perhaps my opponent is on a draw of some sort. But even in that case, he's going to have a ton of outs. A 5 or a 9 would also counterfeit us. So I'm going to have to let these 4s go. And as we can see, shark bait did in fact have the combo draw, the queen jack of hearts. But according to the graphics, even with no pair at the moment, he's actually 50-50. So if you run into the bottom of his range here with queen jack of hearts, it seems like it's a pretty good fold. Hand number 21 in this session of fun. Mariano coming in for the raise from early position up to $300. Yuchan makes the fold on the dealer button. We have an ace. It's not an ace to be all that proud of, but it is an ace in the straddle, getting a decent price, and I toss in the extra money. 3 raise to a flop that gives us top pair, ace 8 deuce with a flush draw. I check it, Mariano checks quickly, and Yuchan checks back on the dealer button. Turns the 10 of hearts, so there's 2 flush draws out there and some straight draws available. I'm going to go for value, charge any one of those draws. I bet $500 with my top pair, terrible kicker. Mariano immediately releases. Turns out he's got pocket queens, loses no money in this hand on the ace high board. Yuchan thinks about it for a little bit, and he makes the call. So we're heads up to a river card that comes the queen of diamonds. And I'm a little unsure in this spot, to be honest. Both flush draws miss, but a hand like King Jack or Jack 9 does make a straight on the river, and we have no removal to that. We have the Ace of Hearts, so maybe the backdoor flush draw is slightly less likely. Not sure the 3 of Spades is all that relevant, but we did see Yuchan in there in a previous hand with the 3 deuce suited. I decided to fire out a bet for $1,400, and again, I'm honestly not too sure about this bet. I didn't know whether I should check or bet in the moment, and if I do bet, I didn't know what size to pick, so I kind of picked a number that would make it a little bit tough for my opponent to find a bluff raise. Not sure that line of thinking is all that wise. $1,400 it is though, and Yuchan starts going into the tank here deep in the blender. Kind of thankfully, he decides to fold because once again, I didn't want to face a raise there. I just had a top pair, terrible kicker. And as we can see, Yuchan had the King 3 of Hearts, so I'm pretty sure he wasn't thinking about calling. He had a blocker to the best straight, so I think he was probably thinking about putting in a raise there. Pretty decent chance it might have worked. Glad he didn't go for it. No extra value on the river, but we are going to win this one. Moving along here, hand number 22, and in this hand, Alex comes in for the raise off of the button. $300 to go over the straddle. Trey makes the call in a small blind. It would look down a King Jack offsuit in the big blind. Again, if this thing is suited, I'm mixing in some 3 bets. Offsuit, just looking in to put in some calls. Do that in this case. I call the 250 additional, and Mariano gets out of the way. So we got a little 3-way flop coming down, which comes out pretty favorable. We are flopping top 2 in this instance. King, Jack 3, 2 diamonds. Check it over to Alex, the initial raiser, who we love to see it. Puts out a C bet, grabs 1 purple, 1 black chip for $600. Over to Trey now, and things get interesting as he grabs additional purple chips, makes it $1,700 to go. Trey's not super deep. He's got $5,375 according to these graphics behind that $1,700 raise. So we're going to pretty happily get the money in here, or look to do so anyway. I'm going to grab a 3 bet worth of chips, $3,800 to go. Alex pretty quickly gets out of the way, and Trey, he's going to go with it. Whatever he's got, he's sticking the rest of the chips in there. I make the snap call, of course, and we see it is anticlimactic. We are up against the same hand here, no redraws, exactly 50-50. It's going to be a chop. We win a little bit of money off of Alex from his pre-flop raise and his C bet. Let's chop it up. Hand number 24, Alex coming in for another raise, this time out of the hijack spot. He makes it $300 to go. Trey makes the call in the cutoff, and we've got Queen Jack offsuit on the dealer button. Once again, offsuit Broadway, 2 paint cards. I want to play them, but I don't want to go too crazy here. We are on the button, so we'll have ourselves position. I've read a book or 2 during my 13 years of playing poker professionally, and those books say the position is good. So I'm going to toss in the $300 as well. Shark bait, he's in there in the straddle, getting a good price. He tosses it in. Let's go. 4 ways to a flop this time, fellas. King Jack 8, 2 clubs. That gives us an open-ended straight draw. Shark bait checks. Alex starts assembling a wager, tosses out a C bet of $800. Trey thinks about it for a little bit before getting out of the way. We've got a little bit of a decision here. Could raise or could just flat call. I think with the flop going 4 ways, I tend to play pretty straightforward. I think that's a smart thing to do the more multi-way it gets. Alex is representing a decent amount of strength here when he c-bets into 3 people, betting about 40% of the pot. If you bet less than that, I think I could definitely find a raise, especially having the queen of clubs. We can represent clubs on turns or rivers, and we have the best straight draw available. So I think a raise definitely makes some sense, but again, being 4 ways, I decide to play it straightforward, and I go ahead with the flat call. Shark bait is in there as well, so we head to a turn card, 3 ways, which comes out a total brick, offsuit 4. Straddler checks. Alex thinks about it for a little bit before continuing his aggression, assembles a wager of $3,000. I think having the queen of clubs in particular allows us to peel slightly higher frequency. Even though there's a flush draw out there, I think having that queen of clubs allows us to represent that flush when it does hit. We're still drawing live no matter what. So having position here, which assures us that we can always get a bet in on the river, I decided to call this turn bet of $3,000. And over to Sharkbait now, who doesn't look like he's ready to release just yet either. Thinks about it for a while, checks his cards again before grabbing a pink chip and tossing that in there to go ahead and make the call. So still 3 ways here with $12,700 in the middle, off to a river card, which comes pretty much another brick. It's an offsuit 7. Sharkbait checks this card. Alex thinking about it, weighing his options here once again before deciding to check it over to us. Perhaps we could try and represent Jack 9. We do have a Jack in our hand, but I feel like we would probably let that hand go on the turn. Some chance the queen would be a dirty out for us, so I don't think I would chase that one down. Not really representing too much on this card. I decide to wave the white flag, check it, We're not going to win this one. And it turns out Sharkbait made a disguised backdoor 2 pair to go along with his flush draw. So perhaps it could have been even worse. Perhaps the club could have hit if they did check it over to us in that instance. I was going to represent that. Doesn't look like it would have worked. Sharkbait had himself the clubs. Alex had himself ace king. Not sure a raise on the flop would have worked. I think I'm okay with the way I played this hand. The only question is whether or not to call the turn. It's probably fine. Next time I just need to try and hit a 9 or an ace. Sharkbait coming in for the raise up to $350 in early position. Trey makes the call on the dealer button. We've got ourselves pocket 5s in the small blind. I'm going to go ahead and make the call here. Don't really want to 3-bet with this hand, I don't think. We don't have very good removal to strong hands with pocket 5s. Toss in the extra $325 before over to our good buddy Mariano, who decides to grab additional money. Tosses out not $350, but $2,500, puts in the 3-bet from the big blind. Initial raiser gets out of the way. Trey is out of there as well, and it's back over to us in the small blind. You know what, guys? You know the drill, right? Did I come all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada full of pocket 5s? No, especially not to 3-bets. I am in there. I toss in the call. Let's go, Mariano. Heads up to a flop. It comes down 10, 6, deuce, rainbow. No sets, very sadly. So I check it over to Mariano, who puts out a continuation bet of $1,500. It's a pretty dry board, though. He's going to have a lot of hands that do not improve on this flop. So for that price, I think we can continue. I go ahead and make the call. Turn is an offsuit 7, full rainbow on board. Check it over to the aggressor once again. And this time Mariano checks back. Has me feeling slightly better about my hand, and we head to the river, which comes the 9 of hearts. Couple of options on the table. Could check it over or could put in the blocker bet here on this river card. Don't really want to check and face a large wager, so I make a small one myself. Put out the blocker bet for $700. Mariano, he's the best poker player in the world who makes poker vlogs. And you know what the best poker player in the world who makes poker vlogs does in a situation like this? He does not call this measly $700 bet. He does not raise a reasonable size. No, he goes ahead and he jams all in. He's going to go ahead and represent Jack 8, I guess. Would he have squeezed with Jack 8 suited out of the big blinds against 3 opponents? I'm not so sure. I kind of doubt it. But can he have pocket 8s? I suppose he could. I'm not so sure whether he would put that into his 3-bet squeezing range all that often, or if he would just typically flat call that and look to take that to the streets. But I suppose this guy, he can have anything. He's Mariano. Look at his biceps. They're incredibly intimidating. I'm just going to go ahead and get out of the way. I got pocket 5s. Can I call down on a 4 to a straight board? I guess I could. I put the $700 bet out there. Maybe I induced him. And it turns out I did. Screw this guy. I mean, who invited him here? Anyway, nice hand, dude. Nice hand. When you play against the best poker player in the world who makes poker vlogs, they're going to make you look stupid, especially when they're on your direct left. I don't know how he keeps getting the direct left seating position versus me, but congrats. Nice hand, sir. Take it down. You're the best poker player in the world who makes poker vlogs. All right, we're steaming, boys. Hand number 35, and we are steaming. Looking down at the 7-4 suited in the +2 spot. Looks good enough to me. I raised $250 to go. All the players who had position on us get out of the way, thankfully, before it gets around to Wolfgang in the small blind. He wants to play for a little bit more money, pumps it up to $975. It was a pretty loose open by me, pretty light. Let's try and stop the bleeding here a little bit. Let's not get too crazy. Go ahead, toss this 7-4 suited into the muck. The kid wasn't screwing around. He's got ace-queen suited, so it was kind of a fair fight, but let's let him have it. 7-4 in the muck. All right, lots of subpar holdings in this hand, apparently, because action folds all the way around to me in the small blind. Looking on pocket 4s, we're going to go ahead and bump this up with a pocket pair and make it $350 to go. Only Brad in the straddle spot tosses in the extra $250, and we go heads up to a flop against Brad Owen. Queen 9-7 rainbow, that's 3 overs to these pocket 4s. I'm going to check this one being out of position. Brad checks back here on the flop, and we take a turn card, which is the 8 of spades, second spade. These pocket 4s, they're not looking too good on this board. I check it again, and this time Brad slides out some amount of chips. Can't continue here with the pocket 4s, I don't think. I surrender. These guys are good. We're hanging out in Stuckville so far. The knit game is on, people. Everyone gets a knit button. If you win a hand, you get rid of your knit button. Last person with a knit button pays everybody $300. Incentivized to win a hand immediately. In this hand, we look down at the King 9 suited in the +2 spot. Definitely worth a raise, especially playing the knit game. I make it $250 to go. Mr. Sharkbait, he is on the dealer button. He tosses in the call. Alex getting a good price in the straddle. He calls as well. 3 amigos heading to a flop. Ace 4-4 with 2 spades. Alex checks. We get no improvement on this board. And I'm not so sure how many 4s we're going to have. We're going to have the strongest aces since there was no 3-bets in this hand. I'm going to put out a small c-bet, 250 bucks. No one's buying what I'm selling. Sharkbait tosses in the call on the button. Alex, he's not ready to release either. He tosses in the call. So still 3 ways to the 9 of diamonds on the turn, which gives us a pair of 9s. But of course, we're still losing to an ace. We're still losing to a 4. Not super proud of this pair. Alex checks. I decide to check it back, and Sharkbait also checks it back. 3 ways to a river card, which comes the deuce of spades. So we beat even less holdings now. That front door flush arrives. Alex checks. I'm going to check it back, hoping for some sort of showdown miracle, but it does not come when Sharkbait decides to put out a wager. Alex gets out of the way, and again, we're beating pretty much nothing here. Losing to an ace, losing to a 4, losing to a flush, losing to 3-5. Just going to have to give this one up. I send the king 9 suited into the muck, and the graphics reveal that somehow we have the best hand versus Sharkbait. Alex folded an ace, but we had the best hand versus Sharkbait here on the dealer button, putting the 7-5 offsuit to work in the nit game. Gotta love the nit game, but don't really love it when he pushes us off the best hand. One caveat to this situation, you are supposed to show your hand, so I didn't know that he had an absolute piece of garbage here until I was reviewing this footage, but he gets the job done with a 7-5 offsuit, and for not revealing his hand, he has to toss $300 into the middle as a splash pot in the next hand, but I don't know if he minds so much because he just won $1,000 playing that 7-5 offsuit. Hand 44, nit game still in effect. We're looking down at the queen 10 offsuit in the +1 spot. I'm going to bump up the price here a little bit. One of those offsuit broadways, not really looking for action. I decide to make it $400 to go. Brad's in the hijack spot. He tosses in the $400 undeterred. Action around to Trey, who tosses in the call. 3 of us to a flop. That is a very welcome sight because we finally connect in a big way here. Queen, queen 4 with 2 hearts giving us trips. Trey checks it. I'm going to put out a relatively small c-bet. I would do this with a variety of holdings on paired boards. Put out a bet of $400. Action over to Brad, who is not ready to release just yet. He tosses in the 400 and Trey is out of there. So the 2 of us, me and my good buddy, going heads up to a turn card, which is a total brick, offsuit 3. If I had a flush draw, if I had some other holdings, I'm going to keep my foot on the gas, try and muscle this one through. I'm going to do that when I have trips as well. Put out a bet of $1,100 here, but this time Brad releases immediately. Makes sense because he's got the ace-9 offsuit. Absolutely nothing. Trips are good. Feels good to drag a pot. Get rid of our nit button. We don't have to pay any bounties in this round. But as we can see on the leaderboard, the cumulative winnings graphic, things are not going our way here. We are down $14,850. Doesn't feel great, not going to lie. And it's not for lack of trying here. As we can see on the VPIP graphic, 42% of hands getting played by yours truly. All right, moving along, hand number 48. Nit game still in effect here. Action folds over to me on the dealer button, looking down at 10-9 of spades. Very easy raise, coming in for $250. Action over to Sharkbait in the straddle spot. He wants to play for a little more money. He grabs a yellow chip, grabs some black chips, tosses them out. That's $1,300. Casual, $1,050 additional. I'm going nowhere. I got myself suited connector. I'm on the dealer button. Let's play. 6-5 deuce, 2 spades. That gives us a flush draw. Not only that, but I gotta feel like this board might be slightly better for my range than it is for the 3-better. Some of these hands that Sharkbait's been getting away with, I haven't exactly seen, so maybe this is all over his range as well. If he was in the mix with 5-7 offsuit earlier, maybe he can be in the mix here with 6-5, pocket 6s, pocket 5s coming in for the 3-bet, maybe even pocket deuces. You never know. But what I do know is that I've got myself 10 high, I've got myself a flush draw, and got to think that I would have these sets typically more often than the 3-better. So when Sharkbait puts out a c-bet of $1,200, I'm not having it. Let's play for a little bit more. I'm going to raise it up here, and then I'm going to look to get it in on future streets. I decide to raise it up to $2,800 on this flop. Got ourselves a 10-high flush draw. Got ourselves a reasonable semi-bluff candidate. Sharkbait, the man likes to mix it up. He's going absolutely nowhere just yet. Tosses in the additional funds, and we are headed to a turn card. And that turn card does not improve us whatsoever. Offsuit jack. Sharkbait checks it over to me. I was the last aggressor, and we got ourselves 10 high here. On a brick turn, I think we're going to have to keep our foot on the gas and keep telling the story. Nothing has changed here. We still got ourselves 10 high. We've got a flush draw. And if we're going to tell a credible story, I think we got to put out another wager. I assembled a bet of 3 yellow chips, 3 bananas, 5 blacks. That's $3,500 total. Toss that out into the middle. And thankfully, We get a very welcome sight as Sharkbait releases his holding. Can't blame him in this instance, of course, as he had the ace-queen offsuit. It was the best hand, but just no pair. And even still, we were going to win this one 1 and 3 times heading to the river card.
Technically 10 high.
Next hand in the +2 spot, we've got ourselves ace, queen offsuit. Of course, we're raising. I make it $250 over the $100 straddle. Over to my buddy Brad in the cutoff, who decides wants to play for more. Puts in the 3-bet up to $800. Action folds back around to me with ace queen offsuit. Do we want to play a 3-bet pot from out of position when we have blockers to some pretty strong hands? Less likely that my opponent is going to have any of those holdings. Brad's going to have plenty of bluffs in this spot. He's going to be playing pretty balanced and find some good bluff candidates. So I think we're going to find a pretty good 4-bet candidate here in this ace queen offsuit. I'm going to put some more money into the pot. I'm going to go ahead and 4-bet it up to a couple yellows and a black chip. Looks like that's $2,100. It looks like that's $2,200. We're going to put in the 4-bet, and as we can see, Brad has ace-jack offsuit. Turns out we got the best hand here with our ace-queen. He releases right away. Happy not to see any further resistance. Hand number 72 of this fun little stream with friends here, playing a casual 25, 50, 100, sometimes 200 game. Trey coming in for the raise off of the hijack spot up to $300. We got ourselves queen 8 suited in the cutoff. Could go a couple of ways here. Of course, we could flat. Of course, we could fold. But do we want to maximize our fun or not? I say we do, and I say we put in a 3-bet here. We're definitely mixing it up. We're definitely getting a little bit out of line. There's no real need to go ahead and put in 3-bets with hands that are barely connected. Suited is nice, of course. That's a couple too many gappers than is ideal. So we're getting out of line here, but I do put in a small 3-bet versus Trey. I bump it up to $800 in position. Mariano gets out of the way. Brad thinks about it for a little while. Turns out he's got himself king-jack offsuit. Decides to also get out of the way. These guys are probably curious what I'm doing, making it $800 over a $300 raise. I'm mixing it up, boys. That's what I'm doing. I'm mixing it up. Trey makes the call, and we are going heads up to a flop that comes down. Queen 9-6, 2 clubs, 1 spade. That's top pair for us, plus 2 backdoor draws. Trey checks it over to me. I'm going to put some money in here with all that stuff going on. I put out a wager of $800, same as my pre-flop raise. Trey's not ready to release just yet. He goes ahead and puts in the call. Deuce of spades, second spade. Of course, it's a welcome sight. Chances are that has not improved Trey, and we do pick up that backdoor flush draw. Trey checks it over to me again. I'm going to go ahead and continue betting here. If we don't improve on the river, I will probably just shut it down. But I think with 2 clubs out there and multiple straight draws, as well as a couple overcards that we don't really want to see, I definitely think it's worth another wager. This time I fire out for $3,200. Trey seems a little hesitant. I forgot to mention that we're back in the midst of the nit game, but he's just got himself a pair of 6s with an ace kicker here. 3rd pair on the board. He's going to let that one go. It's a good fold. Pretty crushed here. We get to get rid of our nit button right away in this game. Hand number 74 here, coming in for the raise out of the +2 spot. We are with pocket 5s up to $250. My pal, Mariano, decides to 3-bet me on my direct left, as he very much likes to do versus a subpar, less than talented poker player who makes poker vlogs than him. Can't blame him. Bumps it up to $1,000. Smooth 1,000. Action folds back around to me. Got myself a pocket pair. If there's anything better in poker than flopping sets, I don't know what it is. So I'm in there looking for a set I call. Flop comes down ace, king, king, which is kind of a joke because when you're the 3-better and you get this flop, it just doesn't really seem fair. Obviously a terrible flop for our pocket 5s. Check it over to Mariano, who goes ahead and drops a purple chip out there. $500. Can't even continue versus a small bet. Release the 5s. And as we can see, Mariano flopped the best of it. Take it down, my friend. Moving along to hand number 88. Trey coming in for the raise up to $300 out of the hijack. We got ourselves 7-5 suited. Kind of a cool hand. I mean, look at that. 7-5 of spades. Pretty dope looking, you know? So it makes me want to raise. Makes me want to re-raise. I make it $1,000 to go out of the cutoff spot. Action folds around to Wolfgang in the straddle, who grabs some chips, and then he realizes I put in a 3-bet. Get out of there, Wolfgang. He's out of there, makes the fold. Action back around to Trey. He just had himself a measly ace-5 offsuit. He did have us crushed pre-flop, but not super playable. Ace-5 offsuit, decides to let it go. We get a 3-bet through, taking down the 7 high. Hand number 93, Wolfgang taking a shot, bumps it up, makes it $300 to go out of the cutoff. Action around to me in the straddle spot. looking down at Jack 9 offsuit, getting a good price, toss in the extra $200. A couple of poker vloggers in this hand going heads up to Queen Jack 3 with 2 spades, gives us middle pair, backdoor straight draw. Check it over to Wolfgang as the initial raiser. He's going to go ahead and assemble some chips, puts out a C bet, 2 black chips, 3 green chips, $275. We got a pair. It's tough to make a pair, so I go ahead and make the call. Off to turn card, which is the 4 of diamonds, bringing a second flush draw on board. Check it over to Wolfgang. He thinks for a little while before firing out for $1,500, which is not a small bet. Because of that, we could release here. We could go ahead and release versus the $1,500 wager, but we have no removal to either of these flush draws. Wolfgang can definitely be firing away with an ace-king type hand, can be firing away with spades, could be firing away with diamonds, could be firing away with a hand like ace-5. I don't want to release just yet. I want to see what the river brings, and that river pairs the top card. Pairs the queen. It's an offsuit queen, which makes me feel even better about my jack now. It's going to be less likely that Wolfgang has a queen now that that card has paired on the river. Not sure I love it, though, when he starts grabbing these big chips. He grabs a pink chip, a yellow chip, and a purple chip. Those are the 3 biggest chips that we have in play in this game. $6,500, which is a pretty good bet because he should be doing this with his strong hands as well as his missed bluffs. And we have so little removal to all of those potential missed draws. With this hand in particular, we have a club and a heart. If we have a hand like Jack 9 of diamonds instead of Jack of clubs 9 of hearts, maybe we can let that one go pretty easily on the river, having removal to those diamond draws. It could have been barreling on the turn. You can see my thought pattern here. I could go on and on. I feel like we have a hand here that almost perfectly unblocks all of those drawing hands. So typically when that's the case, I feel like we have to kind of just close our eyes here, grab the chips, suck it up and make the call. I toss out the $6,500 and we get shown some bad news. Pocket 4s, that is a full house. We were ahead on the flop, but not for very long. That's a big pot, especially for the kid taking a shot in his biggest game ever. And you know what he does when he wins a big pot? He puts the bang sticker on you. So it's kind of a double whammy here. We have to pay off the bet, lose the pot, and we get banged by Wolfgang. Overall, got to be happy for him. He's a super nice kid. He's got the Michigan hat on. He's kind of a lovable dude, even though he's now up $30,000. Big part thanks to me, and I'm hanging out in the absolute basement, stuck $23,000 at this point. Doesn't feel great. Not going to lie, doesn't feel great. Hand number 99. I got the nip button in front of me still, trying to find a win here. Raise it up in the +2 spot with the ace-7 of diamonds and make it $250 to go. Not too many good holdings here, but Alex does find something where he can complete out of the straddle, tosses in the call. Heads up to a flop that comes down ace, queen, deuce, gives us top pair. Alex checks. Of course, we're wagering here with the ace and another Broadway card. I put out a bet of $250. We could actually go a little bit bigger here. We're going to have a pretty significant range advantage coming in for the raise from the early position spot. $250 it is, though. Alex thinks for a little bit, and he makes the call. River's a pretty welcome sight. It's the ace of clubs. Puts up a second flush draw, gives us trips. Bunch of draws out there that we can get value from, as well as a queen. So when Alex checks over to me, I don't see too much reason to check back here. Maybe on a drier board with less flush draws, maybe we could consider a check back, play a little deceptively. But with the Nick game in effect, that always adds an extra dynamic and puts doubt in people's minds. I'm going to fire again here. This time I bet $1,100. Alex does his thing, gives me a look, thinks it over, gives me another look before deciding to toss in the call. Off to a river card, which is an offsuit 3. Shouldn't change much at all unless my opponent has gotten super lucky with ace 3 or pocket 3s. Alex checks it over to me. We are, of course, going for more value here for all the same reasons as mentioned before. Nick game is on, so you get less respect. There's a bunch of draws that have missed. So I want to fire here, and I want to fire pretty big. 1 bubblegum chip, $5,000. That's an over bet, but I think it makes sense in this kind of a scenario. When a bunch of draws have missed and the Nick game is on, I think we want to go for big value. Alex goes deep into the tank here, thinks for quite some time. He's typically made all of the right decisions versus me in the past. Just a couple of guys in these Lodge Card Club hoodies going to battle. Once again, Alex makes the right decision versus me. Lets it go with his offsuit King Jack. He was thinking about making the hero call with the King High. So as you can see, like I said, you get very little respect when the Nick game is on. Was thinking about making a pretty sick hero call with that King High. Would have been incorrect in this instance. Wish he would have done it. We could have used that extra $5K to help us dig out of this hole, but at least we get to get rid of our nit button again, drag in this pot with our trip aces. We've reached triple digits in the hand numbers. This is hand number 101. Nick game is still in effect here for a couple of the players. And in this hand, Sharkbait is coming in for the raise out of the hijack spot. Makes it $600 to go. Action over to me in the straddle spot. I know my opponent is going to be opening pretty wide here. He's got the nip button in front of him. And we look down at King Queen offsuit. I've taken the more conservative route with these offsuit Broadway holdings. But once again, when the Nick game is on, players, they're definitely incentivized to get in there more often. They're going to be opening lighter. And we, of course, block a lot of strong hands with this King Queen offsuit. I'm going to go ahead and put in the 3-bet out of the straddle spot and make it 4x that initial raise, $2,400 to go. Back over to Mr. Sharkbait, who wastes absolutely no time in just ripping it all in right into my face. Just cranks it in there for a bunch of money, $17,500. We can't do too much in that instance with this offsuit King Queen. We're going to have to let it go. And it's the nit game, and we get shown the ace-7 of spades, which is a monstrous 4-bet all in. Goes for it, gets the job done. He's got the best hand, but it takes a lot of guts to go ahead and pump that much money into the middle. Nice hand, sir. Cumulative winnings graphic. It's still not a pretty one. Chilling at the bottom. $26,000 in the hole. Did I mention it doesn't feel great? All right, any body language experts that are out there watching this video, maybe they can tell me a thing or two. Does this guy in that Lodge Card Club hoodie look like he's in a real happy place? Does he look like he's feeling good about himself, hunched over, sitting mostly backwards in his chair? Something tells me he's not in a great spot mentally. Got to stay in the mix, though. Poker goes on. In this hand, Wolfgang comes in for the raise out of the +2 spot, $300 to go. Trey makes the call on the button, and we've got ourselves ace-queen offsuit. This is one of those kind of hands that just lends itself to a 3-bet bluff. Don't really want to play out of position, multi-way with an offsuit ace-queen, so I'm going to turn it into a bluff. I go ahead and put in more money into the middle. $1,800 to be exact. Back over to Wolfgang now. He was screwed around a bit. He's got the 9-6 suited. He decided to let that one go. Trey, he's got himself pocket deuces. Makes a disciplined fold there with the worst pair. Get this one through. We were flipping with Trey. Happy to win this one pre-flop though. A few hands later, we're in the hijack spot now, looking down at ace-7 of clubs. The double straddle must be on because we're raising it up here, up to $500 out of the hijack. And my good buddy, Mariano, my direct left, what do you know? He's 3-betting me. He makes it $2,000 to go. Action folds back around to me. I'm not going to continue with my ace-7 suited. Decide to let this one go. Mariano had the best of it. This time he had the ace-queen, put in the 3-bet. What goes around comes around. This time he gets me with his ace-queen. Couple hands forward, Sharkbait coming in for the raise up to $800 over my $200 doubles, triple straddle something, one of those significant size raise, $800. We look down at the ace-3 suited. Perhaps we could find a 3-bet bluff occasionally with this hand, or we could call getting a reasonably good price out of the straddle. I decide on that route, toss in the extra $600. Let's go to a flop. Jack 9-4, 2 clubs, 1 diamond. We like seeing the 4 of diamonds. Aside from that, not too much going on for us in this hand. Check it over Sharkbait on the button, who decides to check it back. We get a free card. King of spades, clearly not a great card for our holding. Check it over to him again, and he goes ahead and this time puts out the delayed c-bet for $1,000. We are out of there. Not finding any momentum thus far. Turns out Sharkbait had ace-5, slightly had us pipped. We were probably going to chop that one, but not too much we can do about it here. Couple hands later, Yushan comes in for the raise off of the cutoff spot up to $500. Alex tosses in the call. We look down at a pretty premium hand in this instance. Ace-King in the big blind. It's such a welcome sight. Some of these other holdings that we've been 3-betting with in different spots, they're a little bit less comfortable. This one feels much more automatic. 3-bet incoming, boys, and make it $3,000 to go out of the big blind. Back over to Yuchan. He gets out of the way. Alex also releases. Drag this one in, $1,300 profit. It's a drop in the bucket. We got a lot more work to do. Hand number 112, the nit game, it's back on. $200 straddle in this hand, and Alex comes in for the limp out of the +2 spot. Trey bumps it up out of the hijack, however, makes it $1,200 to go, and we've got ace-9 suited in the cutoff spot. Couple of options on the table. Playing the nit game, could call, could 3-bet, could even fold. I decided to take the middle route, toss in the call. And this Mariano guy, I don't know who invited him, but he is not going to call. He's not going to fold. He's going to 3-bet once again. Makes it $5,000 to go. We really need to think about start incorporating some seat change buttons into the stream table. But in this instance, a $5,000 wager, that's going to get the job done. Can't do too much about it here with my ace-9 suited, I don't think. Send it over to that guy. few hands later, the game's still on. I find pocket eights in the hijack. I'm going to raise it up here, of course, over $200 straddle, make it $500 to go. Action over to Sharkbait in the small blind, who tosses in the call. A couple players out of the way before action over to Alex in the straddle spot. He's going to play for more money. He grabs 3 yellow chips, tosses those out into the middle. That's $3,000, a 3-bet up to $3K before it gets back over to us now with a stack of $17,000, which is kind of an awkward spot. I'm not so sure we want a flat call here because there's going to be so many flops that don't contain an 8 where we really don't know whether our hand is good or not. We're clearly too shallow to just set mine with pocket 8s. We got 17K and he made it 3K to go. Typically we want to have at least about 10x the size of that 3-bet if we're simply set mining. The nit game is on, and Alex could be doing this with a variety of holdings. He's going to give us much less respect coming in for this initial raise. And he's got Sharkbait's money in there coming in with a flat call out of the small blind. So he doesn't need a premium to put in this 3-bet, which is going to encourage me to go ahead, muster up the courage to fire in a 4-bet for all of the chips, send it in for $17,000. Sharkbait is out of there, and it's not a good sign when Alex calls immediately. We were hoping to at least have a little bit of fold equity. Turns out we don't. But the good news is that we are in a flipping situation, and we actually have slightly the best hand here with our pocket 8s 55-45 scenario. Just a casual $35,700 pot. We are going to be absolutely smashed and buried if we happen to lose this flip. To say this is a little bit nerve-wracking, I think, is an understatement. We're going to run it once, one time for the 35K, looking to dodge the overcards.
How about a set? But diamond draw.
Diamond draw
for Alex.
Still a flip.
No. No way.
Oh my goodness.
And the diamond, no waiting on the turn.
Andrew needs some help here.
Looking for the board pair.
Ooh.
And he gets it.
Tight.
Row your boat.
Oh, yeah, actually.
Gently down the river. 8's full. The seesaw battle in that hand. And Alex, you are no longer undefeated with Big Slick.
Maximum drama in this hand. Find the set on the flop, but Alex has the flush redraw, giving him a bunch of additional outs. We are a significant favorite, but when the 5 of diamonds came down, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty sick about it. Praying for the board pair, and that does come in on the river with the 3 of hearts showing up. Massive relief, maximum drama, and an $18,200 victory. Big swing of fortune there, figuratively and perhaps literally as well, because as I said, we would have been absolutely buried in this game if we happen to lose that flip. All right, spirits are, of course, a little bit higher now in hand number 118 as we see Alex coming in for the raise out of the cutoff spot up to $600. Action over to us in the small blind. Once again, looking down ace-king offsuit here. Not going to flat call. Of course, we are going to re-raise it. Bump it up to $2,500 out of the small blinds. And an action over to my buddy Mariano, who goes ahead and puts in the 4-bet on my direct left up to $6,000. Alex gets out of there right away, and it's back over to us, and I go back and forth in this spot. Of course, if there's anybody who's capable of finding some 4-bet bluffs, that person would be Mariano. We've got 32.8K behind the initial raise, so it's a decision between pumping all of that into the middle with an offsuit ace-king or keeping Mariano's range wide. We do have to play out of position in that instance, but that is the course of action that I decide on after significant debate, decide to go ahead and put in the call. Casual $13,000 in the middle as we go heads up to a flop that comes down Jack 9-7 rainbow. Of course, not the flop of dreams. Check it over to Mariano, who was the last aggressor pre-flop. Fires out 4 banana chips, $4,000. As mentioned, if there's anybody who's capable of finding some pre-flop bluffs, that would be Mariano. This flop, of course, does improve a bunch of those bluffs. Do I want to just release the ace-king offsuit versus this guy who can have hands like ace-5 suited, ace-4 suited, ace-queen suited, ace-queen offsuit maybe? Some of those hands we're ahead of, but it's such a tricky flop that we probably should just be folding here. I get a little bit stubborn, grab the 4 chips, toss them into the middle. Don't want to release just yet. Turn comes the 8 of spades. This is getting even more ugly. Board was straight on board now. I check it over to Mariano, and he checks back immediately. That could be good news or bad news. We could be ahead of some of those aforementioned hands, such as ace-queen or ace-5. Of course, he'll still slow down with a bunch of his holdings, such as pocket jacks, pocket 9s. Pocket queens, all those hands aren't going to love this turn card. River gets pretty interesting. It's the ace of clubs, so we end up with top pair, top kicker on this board. Check it over to Mariano, who once again very quickly and immediately checks back. I go ahead and show it down, and Mariano looks displeased. He goes ahead and fires his cards into the muck. We find a favorable river card. He had himself the king jack suited, flopped the best of it. We end up getting rewarded for our stubborn call on the flop. We find an unlikely 3-outer versus that king jack. But we find ourselves an $11,000 profit in this hand, which I think by some miracle might actually put us into profit land. And in fact, it does, according to this cumulative winnings graphic. We're up a whopping $350. We did it. We somehow climb out of the hole towards the end of this session. Still a little bit more poker to be played. Hand number 136. Multiple straddles on as the night goes on, as tends to happen. We're looking now at pocket tens in the cutoff. Going to go ahead and bump it up to $1,000 over what I believe is a $400 straddle. Mariano calls on the dealer button. Sharkbait calls in the big blind. And Yuchan makes the call out of the straddle spot. Oh, I forgot there's additional straddles. Alex is calling as well. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Heading to the flop 5 ways with our pocket tens. If we can't flop a set, I guess an overpair plus open-ender might be the next best thing. 987 rainbow. Action checks over to me. I'm going to go ahead and fire here. I bet $1,500. Turns out nobody has much of anything as action gets around to Alex. He's got himself the bottom end of the open-ender. Mariano, I don't know what you're looking at, buddy. You're a funny guy, though. You are a funny guy. If we could have access to Mariano's brain, we'd all be fantastic poker players, but happy to drag this one in. And as we take one more look at this cumulative winnings graphic, things are looking pretty. As we can see, we tick up a little bit. We are in the green for 4 figures now. Battle back thanks to a couple of very key hands towards the end of this session. Another wild session of poker here in this very room. It just seems to happen every single time. When you play for these stakes, when you put multiple straddles on, and you combine all that with a little Texas barbecue sauce right on top, I think that's just going to be the way it goes in these games in this studio. We somehow managed to dig all the way out of the hole in this session. We were down significantly, and we finish up in the green, booking a win of $3,275. Somehow, some way, get it done. That marks my 5th winning session in a row here in this live stream studio. It's not going to go on forever, that much I can promise you. It's going to be swingy. I've mentioned in the previous vlog that these are the most uncomfortable games that I found myself playing in. The stakes, not very comfortable. Big swings, large dollar amounts. But even though it can be very stressful, it also is good, and it feels good to like push the envelope and push my horizons to to expand and literally just play bigger. As mentioned at the start of the video, I'll be hopping into the $3,000 Lodge Championship Series main event. Will it take multiple bullets? Hopefully not, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I cashed this thing last year. I finished in 50th something for around $7,000 or $8,000. So I'm going to try and best that number. That is the immediate future for me. There will be one more session from the previous group of sessions here in the live stream. That'll be the next video. After the LCS is a wrap, that graphic means we're getting right back on the road. World Poker Tour Gardens Poker Championship. Brad and I will be partaking in that, and there's going to be a meetup game at the Gardens, returning to the Gardens. Going back there on May 19th, 5-5 meetup game. If you guys can join, please do. One more fun announcement. There is a tournament happening on August 3rd, right back here at the Lodge. A $1 million guaranteed prize pool, and the buy-in is only $400. That's right, $400 buy-in, $1 million guaranteed prize pool. So that's going to be happening again August 3rd through the 14th, right here at the Lodge. It's called the Mega Monster. If I don't take down the Lodge Championship Series main event, I'll use that as a backup plan and I'll win that thing instead. But that's it for now. Signing out from the Lodge. See you guys again very soon. Cheers.